The fastest way to get rich is surprisingly simple. You need to make sure that no one knows what you're doing. Now, that probably sounds counterintuitive at first. After all, we live in a world where everyone shares their achievements, their purchases, and their so-called wins on social media. The common belief is that if you're succeeding, you should broadcast it to the world, but the truth is the exact opposite. The less you share, the faster you can build your wealth. Back when I was working in banking, I started paying very close attention to the people who built their wealth quietly. These were individuals you would never guess had serious money. Inside the bank, my manager labeled them as high net worth clients. These were the ones offered private banking perks, concierge level treatment too. But you wouldn't know this just by looking at them. They drove modest cars like Toyota Camrys. They showed up in jeans, very simple shirts, and kind of just blended in with everyone. On the surface, they looked like ordinary people. But behind the scenes, their accounts told a very different story. I spent years sitting across the desk from people who were invisible millionaires, and their habits left a lasting impression on me. I found myself drawn to the simplicity of their lifestyle over time, and I realized the big lesson that they embodied. Building real wealth isn't so much about what you buy or show off, it's about what you choose not to do. And that's why the smartest strategy is to make your moves in silence. So in this video, we'll dive into 10 powerful hacks that you can use to accelerate your wealth building journey quietly. These hacks are practical, they're proven, they're transformative, and trust me, if you stick with them until the end, hack number 10 alone could change the way that you think about money forever. The very first hack and the foundation to building wealth is to completely change your mindset. I've talked about this so many times, but you guys don't understand how important this is. Your mindset is the lens through which you see the world. And if that lens is cloudy with doubt, fear, and limitation, you'll never see the opportunities that could change your life. When I was a kid, I struggled with this. I grew up in an environment where success stories were rare, and it wasn't about bad parenting or lack of love. I had everything that I needed. It was the simple fact that people around me weren't achieving extraordinary things. Naturally, I absorbed the way of thinking of what was around me. I believed the best outcome that I could hope for was a stable 9-to-5 job and the ability to support my family. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Going down that path is very normal. Almost everyone does it. But deep down for me personally, I wanted more. I was just afraid to internalize it because it meant admitting to myself I wasn't doing enough. And that shift changed my life. Around 28 years old, I committed myself to understanding money and investments and building wealth. Prior to that, I had a pretty good foundation and understanding based off of jobs and then what I've learned, but I didn't have a grasp on the subject that changed my mindset. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I learned enough that created real value from people, but it was the mindset shift that I came to that eventually changed my life. And that's the essence of the mindset shift you need to make. Decide where you want to excel, commit to it fully, and allow that to become your lane. Again, this doesn't have to be finance or anything like that. Whatever it is that you choose, hopefully something that you're already good at, you want to make sure that you focus on that thing, and you want to shift your mindset as you're accumulating wealth to not settle for anything less than what you deserve. Once your mindset is locked in, the next hack is systemization. Recently, I did a video on how to use ChatGPT to make as much money as possible, and the purpose of that video was to create a business systemization to be highly effective and intentional. You want to do the same thing, but you want to do this for your personal finances. Systemization is the secret weapon of the wealthy. The less you have to rely on willpower to manage your money, the more likely you are to stick to your plan. Just think about it for 1 second. If every time you get paid, you had to manually decide how much to save, how much to invest, and how much to spend, you're leaving yourself open to mistakes because emotions will creep in. You rationalize frivolous purchases, you delay investing just this once, and before long, those small decisions add up and derail your plan. If you go to my website, www.successwithstevensmith.com, I have a free budget calculator that can help you get started in the process. This is exactly what I use to save my first $10,000. You can also use this to save $15,000. I have 2 separate calculators, but that's just an example of how I got started in the system that I set in place. Now I have a new system where my money is dispersed into a brokerage account, retirement account, and even a major investment fund. I usually use credit cards to make all of my other major purchases and pay my bills, and then I have an account that pays those. And of course, I accumulate rewards, cash back, things like that, which I then will take and add that back into my retirement account. When you have things like this in place, you no longer have to think about it. Your money is working in the background while you live your life. This single step has the power to transform your finances because it makes wealth building effortless. You want to make things as easy as possible. You're no longer dependent on discipline alone. You're leveraging systems that keep you consistent. Hack number 3 is earn more, spend less, which I know sounds obvious, but most people struggle with this because of lifestyle inflation, which is one of the biggest traps out there. When you get your first raise or you land a higher paying job, the natural reaction is to upgrade everything. You buy a nicer car, you move into a bigger place, you start spending more just because you can. And the problem is that every upgrade eats away at the money that could be building your wealth. And honestly, spending less matters more than earning more. Think about it this way. In order to have $1 in your pocket, you actually have to earn closer to $2.50. Between federal income tax, state income tax, Medicare, Social Security, you're probably paying 85 cents of every dollar that you earn to your friends at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that's all before you ever paid a single bill. Trying to make more money without controlling your spending is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. No matter how fast you try to fill it up, the water is going to keep pouring out until you fix the holes. All that effort to add more is completely pointless. You'll be working harder, but going nowhere, wasting both energy and your time. And I experienced this firsthand in my 20s. Although I wasn't wildly irresponsible, I did have credit card debt. I made a lot of purchases that didn't add any long-term value. And because of this, I lost years that I could have spent compounding my wealth, and I would have been way further ahead than I am now. And I understood a good amount about finance at the time. So trust me when I say this isn't a knowledge issue, it's a psychological one. And the truth is, every dollar that you don't spend on liabilities can be invested into an asset. And the longer you live below your means, even as your income rises, the faster you build wealth. Last year, it took everything I had to resist the urge to buy a massive house. Instead, I kept my housing costs to a fraction of my income, and that decision alone freed up enormous amounts of money to invest this year. So hack number 3 ties right into hack number 4, which is all about prioritizing assets over liabilities. In simple terms, an asset puts money into your pocket while liabilities take money out of it. When I was younger, I leaned heavily towards liabilities. I bought cars, clothes, and other things to look good in the moment, but that did nothing for my net worth. Looking back, I realized how much that mindset slowed me down. It was that desire to project an image of success rather than actually being successful. I wanted to keep up with people around me and to have as many expensive things that ultimately were depreciating goods. And with a poor mindset like that, the status symbol was more important than the financial cost, which can lead to accumulating significant debt. Some people use their possessions to define their self-worth, and having many expensive things, even if they're liabilities, is equated with success and happiness for that type of person. Now my focus has shifted to assets. I study the stock market, I explore real estate opportunities, and I constantly look for investments that can grow in value. The wealthiest individuals prioritize acquiring assets that produce positive cash flow. Shifting your focus from accumulating possessions to actually accumulating income-generating assets is a transformative mindset, and that can lead you to long-term financial stability and wealth. Just to clarify, the goal is not to deprive yourself completely. It's fine to buy things that you enjoy, but you need to make sure that assets come first. If most of your money is going towards liabilities, you're not building wealth, you're just maintaining an appearance that's a facade. Which then brings us to hack number 5, which is creating multiple streams of income. Now, if you refer back to my passive income video I did in 2024, I also updated one in 2025 to add some new streams of income that I had acquired. If you're interested in that, I highly recommend that you watch that video. I will link that here. Now look, relying on a single paycheck is dangerous. If that paycheck disappears, so does your entire financial foundation. And again, in that video, I kind of talk about that. Like right now for me, it's actually weird to think that you only get paid from one place, but it wasn't that long ago that that was like the norm. It was the norm to have a job and to make money in one way. Wealthy people understand this, and this is why they diversify their income. In 2021, I had a solid 9-to-5 job, but I knew I needed more. So I got back into e-commerce, and that extra income that I got allowed me to invest more aggressively. For my longtime subscribers who have been here since the beginning, you knew before this I had a Shopify store, an Etsy store. I also got music stream revenue, and I had my Amazon storefront, which was probably the most important one. Because of the success of those e-commerce stores, I was able to add more streams like dividends from stocks and eventually this YouTube channel as well. That allowed me to leave my job, and I was able to do all the things that I'm currently doing now. So you don't need to have this figured out all at once. I know it looks easy when people say it on a YouTube video, but it's not hard. It's baby steps. Like I was at my job. Pay is fine. I didn't want to work at my job anymore. So I did something with my free time. So I was literally working at my job, or I was working on e-commerce stuff, and I really had no in-between time. So, I had to work hard. Eventually that made enough money where, hey, I could pay my bills. So I left that job. But the problem was I had enough money to pay my bills, but not enough to do anything else. And I had time. That time allowed me to do what I'm doing now on YouTube. And then this created like at least 4 other streams of income from doing this. So I took a risk, which everything's a risk, and I made it happen. I got to work. I never took it easy on myself. I always held myself accountable, and I knew that I had to do this in order to make sure that I could accumulate the wealth that I wanted. So please understand, you don't need to do all of this at one time. This takes a while. Start with one additional stream. Maybe it's freelance work. Maybe it's an online business or rental income. The point is, create more than one source of income so you can accelerate debt payoff, invest more, and increase your financial resilience. And if you want to eventually quit your 9-to-5 job, you can use that to replace the income, but then you cannot stop there. You need to jump into something else immediately. That way you can start accumulating real wealth. Hack number 6 is to avoid social comparison or competition. If you recall that old proverb, keeping up with the Joneses, it happens when you start competing with your neighbors, your friends, or even strangers online. Now, I want you to understand that there's a difference between a healthy competition, which I'll talk about next, and between you just trying to impress people. As much as we'd hate to admit it, and as much as I'd hate to admit it, this stems from insecurity, ego, sometimes ambition, or simply just a competitive nature. Everyone wants what they don't have, and if someone else has it, the more that we want it. They take a fancy vacation, you need to book one too. They buy a new car, you trade in yours. The problem with this is that type of competition doesn't actually build wealth. In fact, it destroys it. You end up spending more money to impress people, and you probably don't even like the stuff you're buying, and you probably don't even like those people. It just doesn't make sense. So if someone is spending money on a Rolex watch, let them do that. Maybe they're a watch enthusiast, but that's not for you. That brings them joy. It doesn't bring you joy. And the sooner you stop caring about appearances, the faster your net worth will grow. Trust me, that's a big one. Hack number 7 is the power of networking. Now, this is where you can have a little healthy competition. If you want to grow quickly, you need to be around people who are on the same path as you, or better yet, further along than you are. Here's another proverb. Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. A person's character, value, and behaviors can be understood by the company that they keep and the friends they associate with. Now, be clear, this is no absolute, like that's not a guarantee of anything, but usually, statistically, it tends to be true. However, being around and networking with wealthy or successful people can make you wealthier by providing access to influential networks, inspiring maybe, and exposing you to new opportunities and financial wisdom, but it does not guarantee wealth. Wealthy people do not just rub off on you and you automatically become wealthy. You have to learn their strategies, adopt their successful financial habits like delaying gratification. That's one of the biggest ones. Now, I'm going to tell you how to properly network because a lot of people don't understand this, and I just want to be really transparent about this. For me personally, if you jump in my DMs with some type of financial opportunity that you think for some reason I would want to do, I'm going to ignore you, and depending on what it is, I might even block you. Successful networking is about creating value for others first. So if you approach networking with the intention of helping someone, whether it be offering advice, making a connection, or sharing knowledge, you will naturally become an attractive individual for those around you. Again, if you refer back to my video about how to quit your 9-to-5 job, I talked about my editor, how we started working together, and exactly what he did. That is a perfect example of how you do that properly. When you lead with value and you make yourself indispensable within your network, over time, this approach will help you develop a strong personal brand, increase your visibility in the financial community, and ultimately open doors for wealth building partnerships. And this guidance actually saved me years of trial and error. Surrounding yourself with people who understand your goals, they will motivate you, they will hold you accountable, and they will share knowledge that can fast track your success. So the next time, if you ever do this, try to jump in someone's DMs, do whatever the case may be, send them an email. Think about what you're about to say. Don't ask them to basically help you. Try to figure out how you can help them and then go from there. Hack number 8 is learning the art of discretion. Keeping quiet about your progress, which I touched on in the beginning of this video, but it's important enough to circle back and emphasize because it's kind of the point. When you begin hitting financial milestones, whether it's paying off large amounts of debt, landing a new client, reaching a business goal, or stacking more cash than you have ever had before, the first instinct is to share the good news with others because that feels natural, right? You want people to be happy for you. You want them to be proud, and you want them to recognize all of your hard work. Trust me, I get it. But here's the reality. The more you broadcast your wins, the more you invite outside energy that can slow you down. Some people will genuinely celebrate your progress. Many others will react differently. It could be jealousy, it could be doubt, it could be subtle discouragement, and often it may be the closest ones to you. And the frustrating part is it's not always intentional. Sometimes people project their own insecurities or their limitations onto you without even realizing it, because they could never see that for themselves, so they definitely can't see it for you. And that's why it's smarter to keep most of your financial moves private. When you stay quiet, you protect your momentum. You remove unnecessary distractions and opinions that can cloud your judgment. As you move deeper into your journey, you'll notice yourself developing tunnel vision. You won't care what anyone thinks. You'll be laser focused on the end goal. But if you overshare, you risk giving people ammunition to slow you down, whether it's through criticism, gossip, or subtle pressure. That will change your direction, and you do not want to do that. Think of it this way. Every detail you give away is a piece of leverage that someone else can use against you. So share your progress sparingly. Keep the full details of your goals and wins within your inner circle, maybe your spouse, your close partner, or trusted family. Beyond that, let your results just speak for themselves over time. Quiet progress is powerful because nobody can disrupt what they don't know about. Hack number 9 is a complete game changer: mastering tax strategies. So recently I released a video on how to become your own bank with self-custody Bitcoin and running a full node, as well as a re-release video about the buy, borrow, die tax strategy. I highly recommend you watch both of those videos. In the US tax system, it's designed to favor business owners and investors. So if you're a W-2 employee, you have very few deductions available to you. But if you own a business or you invest, the tax code opens up a world of opportunities. When I discovered this, it transformed my outlook. I realized that the real game wasn't about making more money only, it was also about keeping it once you've made it. Business owners can deduct expenses, investors can leverage capital gains treatment, and entrepreneurs can structure their finances to dramatically reduce their tax burden. So if you've never explored this, again, I highly recommend that you watch those 2 videos I mentioned before, but I also suggest you dive into resources like Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. It will open your eyes to strategies that can save you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Finally, hack number 10 is consistency. Now, wealth does not happen overnight. It's built brick by brick, year after year, and the reason most people fail is that they quit too soon. Now, consistency is the hardest part of becoming wealthy because it requires overcoming a natural human tendency that will prioritize immediate rewards over long-term goals. This is compounded by psychological and environmental challenges that constantly threaten to derail your progress. Making consistent, disciplined action is incredibly difficult to maintain over decades. In the beginning, progress feels slow. Your investments don't seem to grow much. Your side hustle only makes a very little bit of money, but over time, those small wins will compound. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail really is just consistency. That is it. In fact, I was recently having a conversation with my brother where we were talking about exactly what it means to work hard. And what we realized was you don't have to necessarily be doing something that's physically demanding, whether it be like you're a construction worker or, if you work inside at a desk. It doesn't really matter. The most difficult thing is for you to do the same thing every day for a long period of time. That is it. And the fact of the matter is, no matter what you do in life, if you can do the same thing very well over a long period of time, that will ultimately give you the success that you're looking for. So remember, wealth building is a marathon. It's not a sprint. The more consistent you are, the more momentum you build, the more likely you are to achieve the financial freedom that you desire. Start today by committing to a small but consistent action. And trust me, this will lead to significant results over time. Keep going, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Stick to your systems, trust the process, and remember that wealth is a long game. So there you have it. 10 hacks that can help you quietly build wealth while the rest of the world is busy showing off. From shifting your mindset to learning tax strategies, each of these hacks build on the other. Put them together and you have the blueprint for financial freedom that doesn't require outside validation or attention. The less noise you make, the more progress you'll achieve. Stay focused, stay consistent, and keep your moves silent. Now, if you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive. And remember, real wealth is built when no one is watching. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and you guys have a wonderful day.